In this vlog here on the Hub Notes channel, it is the 30th of January. It's a Sunday. I'm currently driving towards Banbury near Oxford because I'm going to be driving the Nissan Newbird. So hopefully you've seen that video on the main channel. This is the backup vlog, but I thought I'd explain that this is a very significant moment actually, because the first two vehicles on this channel were both Nissans, and more to the point, the very first vehicle was a Nissan Leaf. The second vehicle was a Nissan Bluebird. So how appropriate that I'm going to be visiting Nissan to drive both effectively in one vehicle. So the Nissan Newbird, in case you haven't seen that video, it's a Nissan Bluebird T72, I think about in 1988, but I will double check that when I get there. That's been converted to use Nissan Leaf running gear, so it's now fully electric. The work was commissioned by Nissan itself. It didn't actually carry out the work, but I believe it did supply the vehicles. A crash damaged Leaf or two, because it's actually a mixture of both generations of Leaf. But yeah, the significance isn't lost on me because I obviously had a lot of Nissan content in those early days. The second video was my T12 Bluebird, and the T12s were built initially in Japan, sold in America as the Stanza, and sold in Japan as the Auster. It's not technically part of the Bluebird lineage. Massively confusing with Datsun / Nissan and their product codes in the 70s through into the 80s. There was actually a U12 Bluebird that was sold in Japan, and I think also in Australia and South Africa, that continued the lineage. But the T12 was not actually quite a Bluebird, or very peculiar. But my dad had a Bluebird. It was his only brand new car when I was a kid, and we got that in, I think, 1989. It was on a G plate, metallic blue, and it was a 1.6 LS, but it was a reminder of how much kit the Japanese were still hurling into their vehicles. It still had 4 electric windows, electric tilt and slide sunroof, central locking. You didn't get heated mirrors, and as I remember from my dad labouring behind the wheel, you also didn't get power steering. You had to step up to the LX for that. And then I think the GS added in those electric and heated and operated door mirrors. And it's a GS I'm going to be playing with tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. Since my dad had his Bluebird sadly stolen when it was only a year or two old and used for joyriding in a 1.6 Nissan Bluebird. I hope they eventually caught those miserable sods. Yeah, a few years later, well, many years later, I managed to buy a T12. So the T12 was a Japanese-built Nissan Bluebird, and they were sold here. But in 1981, Nissan had signed its agreement to open a factory up in the northeast of England, in Washington, near Sunderland, sort of Tyne and Wear way. And yeah, it's a story of massive success that I'll probably have gone into a little bit in the video, but that's not really what that video is about. I actually want to test it using my Bluebird ownership experience to see how this electric one compares. We're going to take it for quite the drive and see how we get on. I hope it's fully charged, because I'm fully anticipating doing about 90 miles in it at least. So yeah, in 2012 I think it was, I bought my T12 Bluebird, and because it was Japanese built, it had a few extra neat features. It had a pantograph rear wiper that I liked very much, but yeah, it just, that narrow window at the start of the Bluebird where they weren't built in the UK. The factory came online in 1986. I think they started building the saloons first of all, and then moved on to the hatchback, where the hatchbacks built here had a normal rear wiper, no pantograph action going on. And they had a wide range of engines as well, from the 1.6 petrol up to 2 litre. There was a 1.8 turbo. There was also a fairly dreary diesel built for the taxi market. But these cars soon gained a reputation for being super robust. In 1987, I think it was, the T12 became the T72. But year after that, in 88, they facelifted the Bluebird. And there's a lot of confusion. People think the T12 is pre-facelift, T72 post-facelift. It's not. For some reason, the chassis code changed. Perhaps to reflect the fact that more and more of the T72 content was locally produced. When the factory first opened in 1986, they were building cars from kits of parts. So effectively, knockdown kits would come in from Japan and they were just assembled in the northeast of England. I think they got the content up to something like 80% local content, maybe even higher by the end of production, but that's certainly how it all began, with those locally produced kits. So quite interesting, I think. So my second Bluebird was the 1.6 LX, and I bought that with a failed head gasket. I'm not entirely sure why I did. The time has come to start the head gasket job on the Nissan Bluebird. Yep, I'd say that confirms it. Look at that, plenty of emulsion going on. Fairly early days of the channel. 2016, I think, I bought that. And documented the process of getting that back on the road. No, it must have been 2017. Yeah, 2017, because it was the same year I got the Invacar. One of my better moves was swapping that Bluebird for a Lexus LS400, which made up for the fact that I'd lost quite a lot of money on that Bluebird. By the time I'd had the head skimmed, bought the gasket set, sorted out all the other jobs that were going on that were necessary with it, I think I was into a 4-figure spend on that car. So swapping it for a Lexus LS400 was not a bad outcome at all. Although knowing me, I think I sold that Lexus for like 800 quid. So I'm kicking myself about that now, but hey, I have a 4-litre wafty barge, so all has ended up well. But yeah, when I drove that 1.6 LX, I found it quite dreary. It was very disappointing, having gone to all that work to get it on the road. And there just wasn't anything to like about the driving experience, other than how solid the car felt. Being the 1.6, it just didn't have any get up and go to speak of. The handling was not exactly exciting. It was better once I fitted some KYB shockers all round. So some new, there was their XLG range, a sort of OEM type replacement. That did transform the handling, as did putting some decent tyres on it. But still, it wasn't a car you wanted to punt into a bend. And I mean, to be honest, this Ford Fairmont is not a car for punting into bends either. It all gets very wobbly and unpleasant. Maybe this needs a suspension refresh. Probably does, at 305,000 kilometres. But I don't think it would ever be a tight handling sports car. The Citroen BX, and that was the problem with my Bluebirds. I owned Citroen BXs, which were dynamically just way ahead. Build quality, inferior. But in terms of enjoyment driving down a twisty road, a Citroen BX is an utter joy in a way a Nissan Bluebird just isn't. And especially with the 1.6 engine, you're always having to work it hard to try and make progress. So I did quite rapidly fall out of love with that car, which is why I'm quite intrigued to try this electric one, because I think that would be very different. It's going to have twice as much torque as the standard equivalent 1.8 litre Bluebird. So yeah, I really am intrigued. I think it's going to be a very interesting day. Just while I'm prattling on, obviously it's another road trip in Betty the Fairmont. I could have got Giselle out, the GSA, but there's still so much salt on the roads, even though she's had the Crown rust-proofing treatment, as has Betty, in fact. I'm just a little unhappy using that car too much at this time of year. Also, I've got the scratched windscreen, and obviously days are quite short. I'm going to be driving in the dark tonight, and I'll probably be doing the same tomorrow. And I don't want to be doing that in the GSA. It's just not great to drive at night. So yeah, Betty got the nod. 2CV is technically back on the road, but the rear wing is only slightly attached at the moment. I need to make some plans to sort that out properly. But I have a trip in mind for Ellie, and we'll see if I can get her sorted before that. Hopefully we can, but this car is so good for doing the long distance road trips. It does spoil me somewhat, and I think a large part of that comes from the fact it behaves like an electric car. There's very good instant torque because it's such a big lusty engine, and it really can get a shift on when you absolutely give it the beans, yet it never ever feels stressed. With the 1.6 Bluebird, I was having to, absolutely hammer it to make what I consider decent progress. This just wafts down the road with seemingly no effort at all, and that's the same sort of vibe you get in electric cars. So, like I say, I'm really looking forward to it. It seems a bit weird. This is going to be published after my test, but here I am anticipating what it's actually going to be like. Interesting is what it's going to be like, I think. So we shall see. But heading down to Banbury, we've still got 3.5 hours to go. It's a long trek. I'm actually even further away from England than I was before, up in Devil's Bridge. In fact, we're going to be going through Devil's Bridge just because I like to cut the corner off. It's the quickest way to get past Aberystwyth. Rather than go through it, I prefer the Devil's Bridge cut through. It's a wonderful road for driving. And I think there is a genuine time saving as well. Tractors permitting, perhaps. Oh my gosh, it's a Mark 6 Escort, and where is Miss Hubner? Wow. She will be disappointed, as you probably are, because you didn't get to see it, because I've got the talk to face action going on today, rather than the shoot down the road. It's not very easy to shoot down the road while you're trying to actually do a car journey. And I do like to actually present to you if I can. I'm going to have to, sorry, I would like to let you out, but there's lots of traffic steaming up behind me. Oh, where are you going? Oh, you're going right, okay. It makes quite good noises when it's not trying very hard to get me down the road. We're accelerating quite strongly. We haven't gone above 3,000 revs yet, and we're going up a very steep hill, and that's 100 kilometers an hour, 62.5 miles an hour. Although my sat nav says that's actually 60, so we're actually doing the legal speed limit. Yeah, that's nice, and that's why I'm falling in love with this car. I think that's why I've driven over 10,000 kilometers in it in the UK. It's just so good for this sort of thing. It's effortless on these long drives. It makes me wonder how I've ended up with a fleet of cars that are generally uncomfortable, noisy little buzz boxes. The Fox project is progressing still. I know Adam's been very busy working on it. I've seen some messages have pinged in while I've been driving. I've not read them because I am driving. But yeah, he's doing so much to improve that car, not just what's on the job. I know he's tackling a load of other jobs as well, like the various warning lights aren't working, the oil pressure gauge doesn't work, he's changing the temperature sender, the thermostat, the knackered water pump, which practically fell apart on arrival in Wakefield. So he's doing an awful lot, so I can't wait to get Foxanne back. A few people have asked whether you can do anything about the gearing. The gearing is very short on the Fox because it's designed as a load carrying vehicle, albeit a load carrying vehicle with about 30 odd brake horsepower. You can fit the rear axle or just a crown wheel and pinion if you wanted to from a three-wheeler, which lifts the gearing, but Foxanne's been running so badly that I've actually preferred to keep her where she is for now. Because the short gearing obviously has benefits travelling around the hills of Wales. So I may go for a taller rear axle, but I don't know yet. We'll see. I actually found it really relaxing holding the speed back to 50-55. That's not my style at all, as poor Ellie knows all too well. I tend to drive her more at sort of 65-70 on the motorways. But yeah, it makes a difference to fuel economy. It hopefully stops the engine losing quite so much oil. Those Reliant engines do burn a bit of oil when you start working them hard, but yeah, hope it just makes it all a bit more relaxing, so we'll see. Foxanders need some adventures. The nature of those adventures are still entirely unknown at the moment. Oh, I do like this road. Oh, it's arrived at Capel Sion. That's probably the end of that vlog, to be honest. I'm on my way to Banbury. I'm quite excited. I think I'm going to stop recording videos now, put on some tunes and just relax and really settle into the journey. Let's say 3.5 hours to go. Straight into dinner, and then sleep, get up, drive car, drive home. So another busy couple of days, but that is the way I like it. It's nice to be getting out there again. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget you can head to the main Hubnut channel, is where you'll find all the videos. You can head to the Hubnut store if you wish and buy lovely merchandise. We are trying to get stuff restocked, but it'll be a gradual process over the next month or two. Lots of mugs. We've got plenty of mugs in, larger white Hubnut mugs, Powerless is more mugs. We've got key rings, beanie hats. There is my beanie hat. My beanie hat gets an awful lot of use. Absolutely love it, really warm. And look forward to seeing you in a future vlog. Farewell. I really must sort this mirror out. This mirror is slightly loose and has a slight buzz to it, which is spoiling the serenity somewhat. Don't notice most of the time because the stereo is really good and really loud.